After Denver's 24-22 victory over the Buffalo Bills, the question around town is it okay to be excited about Denver's hot streak? The Broncos have won 3 straight games, which has led them to a 4-5 record. Denver's remaining schedule is filled to the brim with competitive teams. The teams that really stick out are the Vikings, who the Broncos play on Sunday night, the Browns, Texans, Lions, and Raiders. We do still have to play the Chargers twice, but I think we split the series. With 8 games left at a 4-5 record, it doesn't give you much room to lose more than 3 games and sneak into the playoffs. So let's talk about what will most likely happen. Denver loses to Detroit, LA, and if CJ Stroud keeps up his phenomenal play, the Texans as well. The Browns game could go either way. We could lose 3 or 4 more games, which would give us a 9-8 record or a 10-7. A lot would have to go the Broncos' way to even think about the playoffs. This isn't me trying to rain on Denver's hot streak. Besides the Miami game, the Broncos have been very competitive in every single contest. Most of their losses came down to a single possession. Denver's defense is getting better and better with every single game, but they still have their weak spots. Denver is one of the worst, if not the worst, run defense in the league, giving up close to 160 rushing yards a game. Denver's upcoming games features teams that rely heavily on the run, either off the legs of their quarterback or a dual back system like Detroit has. Denver's offense has seemed gritty but sluggish as of late, as well as penalties that are still a huge problem, and we can't always score field goals after the defense forces a turnover. Vance Joseph does deserve some credit. The defense has stepped up big time. They're getting interceptions, fumbles, and they're currently ranked 16th. But considering who they've played against the last 2 weeks, they should be ranked number 10. Besides the run defense, I would love to see Denver get in the backfield more, pad up those sack numbers. There's still a lot of work to be done for the Broncos to be considered a playoff team. One thing that the Broncos have done consistently over the years is give you hope. Then, when you start to believe in them again, something awful happens. I hope we do win at least 6 more games and beat the Raiders. The Sean Payton era has officially arrived in Denver. There's no doubt about that. Whatever momentum we have near the end of the season will be deadly for the Broncos' opponents next year. I'm confident in the Denver Broncos again. This has been a massive year for the organization, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Considering how the Broncos have been run since the Super Bowl victory, been really up and down, there's still a lot of work to be done, like I've stated. Defense still needs a lot of work. However, it's looking really, really good. Pretty similar to how it's been looking the last couple of years. And then I mentioned that the Broncos, their offense started off really hot, really, really hot. Top 5 scoring team in the league. And now we're starting to figure out what the offense is really trying to do. Sean Payton is, of course, a very run first, pass second kind of guy. The problem, even though his numbers have been looking pretty good, those numbers are pretty deceiving. Russell Wilson. If you sat down and watched a Broncos game at the stadium or at home, Russell isn't playing great. He is not turning the ball over, which has been a drastic change compared to last year. He has already surpassed his touchdown total from last year. He has thrown for 18 touchdowns so far this year, which is fantastic. However, of course, as a quarterback gets older, his arm strength regresses. And that is the case with Russell Wilson. Russell also takes a lot of sacks. You can blame that on the offensive line however much you want, and that is partially true. The offensive line has been giving up a lot of sacks. Pretty sure it's like 6 or 7 a game, which is outrageous. But Russell Wilson still hangs on to the ball way too long. And watching this Bills game was a indicator for that. The Bills game, the Chiefs game. Really, you look at the tape for any game that they've played this year, and he just holds on to the ball for too long, runs out of the pocket, and then he either fumbles it or he takes a sack. Very rarely does he throw it out of bounds. So I don't know what's going on there. I think, of course, Denver keeps him again next year. But next year is the last year for Russell Wilson in a Broncos uniform. But even with all the troubles that the offense and defense has faced all year, I am confident in the Broncos, and I think they will finish strong. You have to be pretty cautious as far as being optimistic when you are a fan of this team. Having hope is a very dangerous thing if you're a Broncos fan. Many, many, many times has a game gone down to the wire, they choke, or something happens, you lose. That has also brought to light many problems that this team has had. Of course, Russell isn't the answer at quarterback. He is only there temporarily to fix a big problem. I really, really wished that Caleb Williams would have been our quarterback for the future. However, I'm not going to get upset about winning big games against these really good teams. Denver has to look at their schedule, the remaining schedule, like a series of playoff games, because if they get into a losing funk like they did earlier this year, their season is over, and they'd get maybe a middle round draft pick, maybe an early one, but definitely not a top 5. I think they are definitely playing to win, which is what I like. People were saying that Denver was tanking this year, and that's simply not the case. I frown on tanking. I think tanking degrades the game. Even if you do get a franchise player in the draft, tanking is disgusting and should not be allowed at all. And I'm sure it's not, but it's the idea of tanking for one player in the draft is ridiculous. And I'm very happy that the Broncos weren't purposely losing these games, even though it definitely seemed like it for a little bit. But yeah, very excited to see what the Broncos have in the tank to finish off the year. Very, very, very good wins. Very good wins. And the fact that we beat the Chiefs in Denver, got that monkey off our back. We beat the Buffalo Bills. The Bills turned the ball over, I think, 3 times. And to think we beat Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes in back-to-back weeks is crazy. I would have never guessed that. But thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it. Let me know if you like these kind of videos. I'll try and put out more of these. Take care.